I'm joined here today by the one, the only Curtis Blaydes, set to fight very soon this weekend, UFC Vegas 3 against, of course, Alexander Volkov. What's going on, man? How are you?
I'm doing fine, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. Thank you for asking. How far along are you in fight week? Like, what's everything kind of looking like for you so far?
It's Wednesday, and today's media day, I guess, just without having to do the media scrum. So this will be interview, I don't know, 15, I guess, of my media day, and that's pretty much all I've been doing. I'll do a workout later on tonight, and that's it.
And so I assume the good thing for you, you're a heavyweight, so we're not seeing you covered in towels, the hot bathtub, and everything. I assume there's a lot of just chilling a little bit for you.
Yeah, just a lot of time to myself, just doing my own mental prep.
And so you mentioned doing a lot of interviews and stuff. Are you enjoying that? Like, I know it's part of the game and everything. Is it something you enjoy, or it's not really?
Not really. Not
Yeah.
gonna lie. A lot of the questions are pretty pretty much the same. How are you gonna win? What do you think Volkov is good at? What did you think when they initially offered you Volkov? But the more you do them, the better the answers get, I guess.
Putting me on the spot a little bit, I feel like I got to mix it up, try to
No,
hit you with some kind of different questions, man.
it's okay. I mean, you guys are all professionals. I guess if you all are doing it, he's got to be the best questions that can be answered.
That's right. With that being said, man, what's like the worst interview you've done? Like, I see some fighters do like these tiny podcasts where they get asked some weird question. What's like the worst interview where you're thinking to yourself, like, man, I need to hang up this phone?
Oh, I don't do those anymore. That's why
Yeah.
I run all my interviews. Like you said, you spoke to my manager. My manager goes to he gets to vet them out, and he knows I don't really like to do like random weird interviews or annoying interviews. So if you get by him, that means you're good.
For sure. One last thing on that, I am curious. You mentioned annoying interviews. What's an annoying interview look like? Is it like if basically some fan got a hold of your phone number and asked you like some shitty questions? Like what's that kind of look like?
Um, yeah, pretty much like I wouldn't call them. I guess they are fans, but they happen to have a podcast. Just some guys treated as like, oh my god, I'm getting to talk to you, Curtis Blaydes. Like, where are you from? Blah blah blah. I'm like, bro, you should already have the information. Like basic
Right.
stuff. When they're asking me basic things, you can easily find on my like Wikipedia. I know Wikipedia is not the most reliable, but sometimes it is just easier just to glance at someone's wiki and you can get those answers.
Yeah, for sure. Just do a little bit of prep and at least sound like you know who's coming on the show and you're not like fawning over them.
Yeah, so I can just tell like who's a professional and who's just like using this as an opportunity to meet or talk to someone that I get. It's not an insult, but they admire you, and usually people who like really really admire you aren't like the best interviewers because they're using it as a just an opportunity to talk. So
Right, that makes sense about putting the fighter forward, and that's really what it's about, and not like, oh my God, I'm with Curtis Blades.
yeah,
How are you, man?
yeah. Like I said, I can tell. I've been in this game for about 8 years now. I can tell pretty quickly who's real and who's not real.
Speaking of real men, though, I believe I talked to one of your teammates, Neil Magny. We talked about something important, which was the haircut situation heading into his fight. Based on what I'm seeing so far, it looks like you look pretty fresh, man. You got some stuff done recently. How was the haircut situation for you leading up to the fight? Did you plan stuff ahead of time? Like it's very important for fighters to look good when they go out there.
Yeah, I normally wait until like the last hour I can possibly wait. Like sometimes this haircut I got it 2 hours before I had to be at the airport. So I want it to last. 'Cause I normally get designs. I want the designs to be as good looking and to last as long as possible. So I wait to the last possible minute.
For sure. And one thing I was very curious about, though, is we saw you did a sumo wrestling match against Anthony Johnson. It looked like you guys were wearing, I don't know what the proper term is, but it kind of looked like these sort of diapers that you
The
guys were
Achi.
wearing and stuff like that. There you go. That's the proper term. How was that experience for you? Because I believe it's a little bit unique.
Yeah, that was a fun experience. I've never been to Miami. I never like me and Anthony, we had spoken previously, like just through Instagram, but that was my first time getting like meet him face to face, talk, joke around and stuff. He's a real cool guy, real nice guy. Maybe sometime down the line we'll get to train together. But yeah, that was a cool experience getting to eat the food, and that was also the weekend of Super Bowl weekend. So I didn't go to the game, but like all the media exposure, I did a lot of interviews down there. Got to see a lot of players that I'm also a fan of, and it was just a really cool experience.
You mentioned getting to see some players that you were a fan of. Were there guys that recognized you, like, hey, that's UFC heavyweight Curtis Blaydes? Did you get any of that?
Nah, they had dudes like Jarvis Landry and Odell Beck. Like, nah, they don't know who I am. Yeah, that's okay. I don't expect them to.
I mean, listen, if you want to, while we're here on the show, give some kind of call out to Odell Beckham. Like, you better remember the name. Otherwise, next time, I'll get in your face. Like, this is the place you would do that, man.
Nah, I mean, when it happens, it happens. I'll garner that recognition. Normally casual fans, and that's not an insult, but if you're just not someone who regularly keeps up with MMA and the rosters, because it's a lot of constant movement. If you don't really keep up with it, I consider you a casual. And a lot of casuals, they really only pay attention to the guys with like 500,000 Instagram followers, and I probably won't have those type of numbers until after I get the belt. So I get the belt, I'll get the recognition. I don't mind waiting.
For sure. Before we talk about the fight with Volkov, all that boring stuff, I do have to ask you a little bit about your Justin Willis fight, the famous, I believe it was Big Titty Go Home, if I'm getting that term correctly. What happened with that fight? What was it that made it such a big deal, like to the point where we even saw him get cut after you sort of dismantled him out there?
It was just very disrespectful throughout the weeks leading up to the fight, all his interviews, which I guess that isn't out of the norm. A lot of guys go that Kobe, Covington, Conor McGregor route, but he kind of took it up a notch by having his homies DMing me, talking smack, trying to distract me, and then throughout the whole fight week, they normally have fighters all in the same hotel, which is normally not an issue. Everyone's pretty respectful, but at every time I would see him on an elevator or breakfast or at the gym they had us using to cut weight, Lifetime. Oh, yeah. I get in the hot tub. I can hear him talking smack. I'm at the front desk signing in. He's like, "Oh, you my bitch. I'm gonna make you my bitch." Just things like that. He just took it up to a disrespectful level, and I just don't like him. He's just not a nice person.
So did that make the fight more fun for you, though? Because I assume it must have been super satisfying at the end, especially when you heard those dominant scorecards.
No, I don't like fighting with aggression like that, because that wasn't me. I don't know if you remember watching that fight. I wasn't able to get off any ground and pound because I was too angry. I don't like to fight angry because you're not smart. I like to be intelligent when I'm in there, and I was. That's actually not even a fight I'm really proud of. I don't really rewatch it. I don't really bring it up. It just happened.
Right, for sure. Let's talk about your fight with Volkov a little bit. It's a bit of a unique opponent because he's 6'7". Like, we're talking, I mean, obviously you're 6'4", you're a tall guy yourself, but 6'7" is truly like NBA basketball player height. Like, we're talking a really tall person. How do you sort of look at that matchup? Is that going to make it any more difficult, or is it just a number for you?
Just a number, because when we get in there, he's not going to be standing on the tips of his toes. He's going to have a bend in his knees. He's going to have a wide base because he's going to be highly aware of my wrestling, and the best way to defend wrestling is to have a wide base. So he's going to shrink. People adjust to me. I don't adjust to them.
That's right. What did you think of the matchup when they came to you? Like, you're coming off the big win over Junior Dos Santos. Striking looked great. Was this the right opponent for you to sort of keep that momentum going?
It was the only opponent. Going off the numbers, the rankings at the time, there was no one else that would have made any type of sense besides Derek Lewis, but they weren't going to give me Derek Lewis because they know I'd beat him, and he's of no use to the company if he can't give that funny post-fight interview. And you don't get the post-fight interview unless you win, and he wasn't getting that. So
Hey, listen, you're in one of the most frustrating divisions with the UFC when we're sort of looking at that title picture. I feel like it's a headache this entire time. We finally got the trilogy for you in the division, and considering just how close you are to the title, how's it been for you watching all that stuff unfold?
It's been frustrating. I've been somewhat vocal about it in the past, but I think I don't know. I had an epiphany. Like it doesn't matter. I'll fight whoever they put me across the cage from. I mean, eventually, if I beat everyone, they have no choice but to give me a title shot. So I'll wait. I'm only 29 years old. A lot of these guys are 35, 36, 40 years old. Their clock is already ticking, or they're already at the end of their clock. Me, I'm in. I'm just not into my prime, so I'm in no rush.
And so when you look at that fight, I mean, first of all, I have to ask it. I'm sure you've answered it a million times. Who do you have in that trilogy?
I don't have it. I would be disingenuous if I tried to tell you, oh, I know that Stipe is going to win, or I know DC is going to win, when we just watched them both beat each other in ways that we would not have predicted. So I'm not even going to attempt to use any brain power to predict that. Like, I guess it comes down to who wants to wrestle or who wants to be aggressive. And we don't know that because we can't get in their heads. Maybe DC goes out there and he's like, you know what, I'm just going to be the Olympic wrestler I am and just try and grapple fuck you. Or maybe Stipe's like, I want to be the taller, bigger man and just press you up against the cage and work you in the clinch like he was last time with the body shots and stuff. And that was working. Like, I don't know. And honestly, I don't care because they're both going to retire, so it really doesn't matter. And even if Stipe doesn't retire, then they'll give him to Ngannou, and then he will retire. So it doesn't matter to me who wins. I just want them to hurry up and fight.
Yeah, there we go. That sounds extremely frustrating if you're in your position, but should you beat Volkov, do you think that puts you next in line for Volkov, or is that where you're going to have to wait one more time for Ngannou to kind of figure that stuff out too?
No, Ngannou's ahead of me. We all know this. He won. He's beaten me twice, and I'm not going to be disrespectful and be like, oh, I deserve the next shot. No, you can give it to Ngannou, and I'll go next. Like I said, I'm in no rush. Ngannou is 5 years older than me. He's in a rush. I'm not.
All right, man, one last question. We'll let you go. You've heard this one a million times. You've answered it a million times as well, but how do you see this fight with Volkov playing out?
It'll be a TKO. I don't know which round, but it'll happen. I'll get the finish.
All right, well, we look forward to it. It's going to be a great fight. Obviously, and I have to tell you that. Thanks so much for the time, Curtis Blaydes. I know we went over a little bit. I'm sorry about that. Thank you
Okay.
again, man. We look forward to it.
No problem. Thank you.